right, so there's a concept in Buddhism that's called the hungry ghost. These are creatures that wander the earth desperate for something to eat, but never able to be satiated. I feel like we're living right now in a time of hungry ghosts. But people are hungry, they're starving for connection. And I've come to see disconnection as a disease or as a sickness. It's like a hole that people can't fill, and it's literally killing us. We need some kind of shift, some change to disrupt the way that we've been operating. And I've come across a surprisingly unique solution, a way of building connection with groups of people in a very short period of time that sort of dissolves the barriers between people, and it helps them come alive. And it's rooted in the arts and creativity. And I believe it's part of the cure. So this is me, 2 years old, and when I look at this picture, I think of unfiltered joy and creativity. And when I spend time with kids, I feel like they live and breathe creativity. They paint, they draw, they dance without any judgment. It's part of who they are. And then we become adolescents. And this is me at 13 years old. And this is about the moment in my life when self-doubt started to seep in. I got very critical of myself and other people. I started comparing myself all the time. And it became a division between me and everyone around me, sort of a barrier, like a wall. And I had this opportunity to attend a leadership program through the arts that was co-founded by this guy, Charlie Murphy. And Charlie's vision was to send young people through an experience that was all about using the arts and creativity to help them step into their power and access their spark, to help them really find who they are and what they care about. So over the course of about 8 days, we were immersed in the arts. I learned how to beatbox, how to freestyle. I played capoeira, I was painting, but it wasn't about art. It was about connecting with each other. And this unlikely group of teenagers turned into a beautiful community. And I left that program, and something inside me had really deeply shifted. I saw myself differently, and I saw the world differently. I looked around, and I realized that I had started the path of using the arts as a tool to connect people. And it's a path that I've continued since that day. It's something that led me down into a lot of experimentation, bringing groups of people together and combining things that I love to do, collaborative art, curated music, meaningful conversations, and turning it into a sort of 2-hour process that would really disrupt the way that people normally interact with each other. So what started as an idea became a business, and people started asking me to come to their company, to come to these different countries around the world and do this process. So I was working with doctors, with politicians, with bankers, and the same thing would continue to happen. The barriers between people and the hierarchy and the power structure would sort of melt away and people would open. So imagine you're sitting across the table from someone, and you're both telling stories about the neighborhood that you grew up in. And then you're drawing your partner's story. You're illustrating elements of it and writing some characteristics that really stood out from your partner's story. And then when you uncover that art piece that you created, this is the reaction that often happens. Look at this woman's face. When you look in her eyes, it's like she just got transported back to that childlike state of wonder and curiosity and awe. And she's leaning into this connection, this sort of just pulled her out of this moment, right? So this year, there was an incredible and groundbreaking book that was written called Your Brain on Art. And it was written by Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross. And what they discovered with all their research is that the arts are not a nice to have. They are just as important for our health and well-being as food and water. And we desperately need this kind of medicine right now in our culture, in our society, because we're sick. Over 50% of the US identifies as being lonely. 12% of the US says that they don't have a single friend or a person that they can talk to about meaningful things in their life. And the way that we're working is just not working. So I recently had the opportunity to spend the day with Dr. Vivek Murthy, our US Surgeon General, and talk about how can we use creativity and the arts to help address this huge issue around disconnection and loneliness. and it's affecting our young people, adults, and the elderly. And we need to interrupt the way that we've normally been interacting with each other in society. We need something to pull us out of these patterns. And the arts is the most impactful and effective way that I've ever seen when delivered in a non-judgmental environment to pull people out of their patterns and help them open up. It's a doorway to our inner life. When people are using a paintbrush or singing together, they're uncovering a new part of themselves, a more whole part of themselves. And it allows people to identify their beliefs, their values, the things that are really difficult to share with words. It's also accessible to everyone. And I'm not talking about becoming a better artist or making things pretty. I'm really talking about using the arts to help people connect with each other. And I really believe that every one of you in this room can use the arts and creative practices to bring a new level of depth into your next business meeting, into your next family gathering. And honestly, we desperately need you to take that risk. And it is a risk. But I believe that creativity and the arts is the cure that we need right now, and we need to imbue it into every aspect of our society. It's a desperate cause, I'd say, at this point. So we all have a choice. We can wander as the hungry ghosts through the world, desperate for connection, or you can lean in, take a risk, and use the arts to build more connection with the people around you and to create environments where people come alive. You get to choose.